Welcome everyone. Today I have a new episodes, and around the world everybody has interest about US elections, US politics, and we also like actually want a global leaders. So today in my show we have a leaders, not only reader with the running mates, and they are very dynamic. They are very well known around the world with their works, with their contribution in science, engineering, and technology. Beside that, they are trying to contribute in politics, and with the politics they want to create better worlds and they want to create better society. So welcome Mr. Charlie and Madam Liz. How are you today?
Good, very good.
Thank you for
Yes.
having us, Sharif. It's nice to be here.
Yes, thank you, thank you. I want that. Like I know that you are very busy right now. You are running for the U.S. presidential candidate and vice presidential candidate, and this is very important moment for you. Beside that, because here is a new audience, new peoples, and new group of peoples from Malaysia and from Asia Pacific, from South Asia. So, can you please introduce yourself as well as what you are doing for the election right now?
Sure, I'll go first, I suppose. I'm Charlie Cam, running for presidency under the United States Transhumanist Party banner, and Liz Parrish is my vice presidential running mate. What we stand for is using the latest technologies to help extend life and prevent people from dying unnecessarily from diseases, because so many of the latest technologies aren't being implemented in the ways that we would like to see them happen. So that's the basis for our platform. But there's a lot more to it, as we'll discuss, I'm sure, in our meeting today with you. And then Liz, why don't you tell them about what you're about yourself and what you think?
Sure. I want to say hello to everyone in your location in the world, and that we hope to change the U.S. system into being a more global community and having better relations. My name is Liz Parrish. I am the CEO of a company called BioViva that is committed to genetic engineering of humans to help them live longer, healthier lives through the most advanced technology. And I joined Charlie in his party run for presidency because I think that human health is vastly important. I think that we are overlooking great innovations and great opportunities. Our country spends the most, the US spends the most on healthcare per individual in the world, and yet we have the shortest lifespans of every industrialized country. So we want to radically change that through science and technology and clear thinking, without pulling people apart, bringing people together through science and technology to live longer, healthier lives.
Mhm. Thank you. Beside that, I want to know more. Like example, now around the globes, because I have a chance to work with lot of talented people in Asia. So always right now I find that talent peoples and those who have a better plan, better future plan and everything, they do not like politics. That is the reality. And they said, oh, we yes, politics is a very bad thing. I do not want to involve. Parents do not want, young populations do not want, everybody say, oh, I do not love politics. But why you do? Because you have a better career, better futures. Why you join in the politics? What are the issues and how you want to give the message for the young community we have?
Well, I'll start. Um, the word politics, it's got the word, well, essentially the word policy right in it, and policy is important. If you want to get all these amazing technologies distributed to as many people as possible, you really do have to concentrate on trying to affect policy that goes that which obviously coincides with government. You want to have it where things that are out there are going to be implemented into our daily lives, and we can do that in a way through policy. And right now what we have is an administration in our country that does a very poor job of that, and they do it where they are so irresponsible that people have died, especially with this COVID virus, unnecessarily. So had the policy been better, had the politics been better, a lot of people wouldn't have died. So it's something that no one necessarily likes to do, but it's an important aspect of society, and it can't just be ignored or looked at in a disdainful way. We have to look at it in a useful way, and we want to make sure that it's something that can benefit people, not be antagonistic or something that people just don't like. And I think that's what the USTP is really all about: is making politics not a bad thing, but more of a thing that's useful, and especially with use of the latest technologies, where science can be an important aspect of this whole thing. And Liz can tell you some other interesting things about it.
Oh, yeah, I'll just talk briefly. And I think that Charlie's right. If you look at any of my posts, you'll never see a political post so far. I essentially have stayed out of the political forum because I want to just run my company and have a success. But what blocks us is a lot of the lawmakers' policies. It leads to more deaths than even outside of COVID. There are a lot of potentially treatable diseases that we don't have the access to accelerate the development of drugs. And it is critically important that we do that. Now, the U.S. Transhumanist Party is a small party, so we can't hope to be on the ballot or anything like that, but we can bring awareness to innovation, becoming an innovation party, getting more people behind us so that in the next few elections, maybe we can actually be on the ballot for the vote.
Yes, this is very interesting because as I am representing developing nations, that's why I have some different perception and different opinions from my side. Let's say, example, Transhumanist Party, they are very well known right now around the world. So first of all, from my side, like example, even my viewers, even my people, always they are used to with the Democrat and Republicans, and even still we are observing that USA has some sort of crisis in the politics and other things. But my question is that what's the dynamic activities you have that you can manage US and global politics? So both of the questions for Mr. Charlie and Miss Liz. Yeah.
Well, as far as if you're talking about the problems that we have with the way it's structured in the United States in particular, since that's our country, that's what I'll talk about. It is a duopoly, and in the sense that it is strictly run by two parties, a Republican and Democrat. It's been like that for quite a while. And unfortunately, that makes it very difficult for a third party to get any real traction. And most of the time, third parties are considered spoilers for one of the other two parties. But I will point out that in the last two cycles, actually, the most energizing people in those particular respective parties have not been from those respective parties. When in the case of Trump, he was not really a Republican. He was a game show host who decided to run for president. So he joined up with the Republican Party, and a lot of conservatives have left the party because he doesn't really represent it. And in the case of the Democrats, Bernie Sanders was not actually a Democrat. He was part of the Independent Party. He considered himself a Democratic socialist, which is different. And he was a big energizing factor in the base, but he had to switch from the Independent Party to the Democratic Party to run because of this duopoly. So interestingly, even though it is run by two parties, there isn't necessarily a lot of support directly for those parties and what they stand for. People are looking for alternatives. I do think what Trump has done in an indirect way, or however you want to call it, he's kind of decimated the Republican Party for the way it was, for what it stood for politically. And I think that there's an opening now where if he loses this particular election, the Republican Party is probably going to be in a very weakened state, I should say. And the Democratic Party is looking to kind of split in a way between a very far left party and a more moderate party. So this might be a time in the next, not necessarily this election, but the upcoming ones, where there is an opportunity for third parties to start to grow. And I think the United States Transhumanist Party is in a very good position to do that because of COVID, because what happened with COVID was that when the president was giving his briefings, a lot of people were starting to ignore him because he was just not competent. He was saying crazy things like inject people with cleaning fluid as a way to. So the people picked up on right away that he didn't know what he was talking about, and they started looking next to him, which was standing next to him were the scientists like Dr. Fauci, and people started to realize that science was the way that we were going to start to actually find answers to the majority of our problems, and that's the basis for the USTP. The United States Transhumanist Party is all about science and using science and logic and reasoning to find the solutions, not only to health problems but to everything else.
Yes.
I think that one of my strong proponents of being part of this, again, was just to come in and support the party and support Charlie in its early burgeoning stages, get more people to join, to get people to consider voter reform so that ideas like the Transhumanist Party can be pressured into office, even if we don't get a majority vote initially. I would like other parties to notice that this innovation party is like moving towards what this country needs. If you read the book How Nations Fail, you would start to become quite concerned about the situation that we're in right now. The United States needs to become and stay. We have the most innovation in research, but we need to become the most innovative in products. And we're starting to lose that base. It is important to be the most innovative country if you want to keep your position in the world. But it's also important to think globally and have a global mentality for helping other countries also achieve that level of success. And that's one area where I feel like we have failed. We were the most innovative country, then we didn't capitalize on that fact. And now we are losing our base of innovation, and we really need to get back there. We need to be the best, but we need to lift everyone else up in the meantime. We don't need to become a tyranny or such a nationalist country that we don't think globally. I think that we are a global economy already. COVID did a lot to crush that, but that is burgeoning to come back, and it's just mandatory that we have great relations with every country and use the basis of science and innovation that we have in research and development to translate that into usable technology.
Yes, this is very interesting, and this is the reality, the fact that how actually Transhumanist Party they are moving with lot of intellectual communities and different kind of peoples like you, and this is the great hope for the nation, for this world. But my question is that how actually you are involving with the global community. Let's say example, personally I know from different countries, let's say the US politicians and US political parties, they have deep relations with different internationals, communities and the governments, even root levels. They are train them, they are developing their political environment, they teach them how to be a better politicians, how to be good in the democratic politics, and many things. Their initiatives they are taking right now. But what's the different things actually Transhumanist Party are doing right now? Because you have to compete with the mainstream political party like Democrats and Republicans. So what's the initiative? Can you share something with our audience?
Well, I will say that what the USTP is trying to do, and again, we're an early party. We've only been in existence for 5 years, so we're at the nascent stages of trying to develop ourselves into something bigger. But as Liz pointed out, we do look at the world and we look at our party, of course, nationally, but we do look beyond that globally, because we know that that every issue that we have to deal with transcends our borders. I mean, you can't deal with a particular crisis like COVID, for example, and ignore the rest of the world. This world has become global, and it's becoming more global because of technology. So one of the things that we're doing now is we're trying to find ambassadors from as many countries as possible to be represented by the USGP, and we have it at a bunch of different countries now, and we'd like to keep expanding that. That's all we can do, and because we're early, we don't have a lot of funding yet, so it's not easy to compete with the bigger parties. But one of the good things is that because we're science-based, we can appeal to some of the more high-level thinking people in those countries that want to become responsible and look for solutions. So when we talk to people, sometimes we do get attention from some people that are successful and in the world of science, and that's important to us. So that's kind of what we're trying to do right now. I don't know if Liz, you could add something if you.
Yes.
No, I would just reflect what you said. It's a global community. It's growing. We look for every country to open up a transhumanist party base. We can work globally together. I'm bringing in my experience with working globally with my company. Sorry, we work in several different countries, and we serve almost every country in the world with our products. And I think that I've learned a lot from that experience. I think that I know this is the way that we will go forward as a global community. But right now, we still vote based on national lines. And so we're building internally the U.S. Transhumanist Party, but of course we are open to all of our sisters and brothers around the world who are also joining this cause to think logically, to think about humans and the planet first, and treating all creatures well on the earth through the science and basis of understanding and uplifting our future.
Thank you. I think someone said, okay, Noor Fazrin, she said, good morning, everyone from Malaysia. It's a constructive session. Thank you all. Okay. So actually in the morning times, everybody is busy with office and everything. So naturally we do our session in evening, but I understand that you are from different part of the world. So thank you for joining today. We are really, really happy that you join with us. So anyway, we directly want to get into the US politics. So what's the agenda you have right now for these elections? Like what type of agenda you are promoting for your people for voting and this kind of things? Yeah, Mr. Charlie. Yeah.
Well, our agenda is to promote the idea of life extension through advanced cutting edge technologies. That's really what we stand for. We can't control about voting. That's something that the government does. But we, as far as our platform goes, our number one priority is really about life extension for humans by way of proactively treating them. And I think Liz can talk more about that because that's what BioViva is all about. And I'm really proud to have Liz as a partner who actually is involved in a company that directly does that. Liz, why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, so first of all, to get to know me, I'm probably considered a radical centrist. So my views are generally towards the middle. I use data to make decisions. And on our platform of radical life extension for humans, I'm not only a proponent of it, I'm a poster person for it. In 2015, I took the first 2 gene therapies to treat biological aging to make a better world for everyone. We really wanted to find out if this technology would work, and it wasn't just for people in the United States, it was for everyone. We wanted to touch every corner of the globe with health. And I put my life forward for that, and I'm really proud of that decision. And I want to create a world where everyone is touched by the possibility of living longer and healthier. And I understand the risk because I've been on both sides of it. And I understand that over 100,000 people die every day of a potentially treatable disease, which is called biological aging. And I understand that through the development of these technologies, we can cure childhood disease, which was my initial goal. I got started in this after my son became sick with an autoimmune disorder. So We are on the cutting edge of science. We study it every day at my company, and we're using that information and that technology in order to make decisive decisions for this country going forward when the Transhumanist Party is elected into office.
Mhm. Yes, thank you. But like at present situation, it's a completely different. Like we have COVID challenges, and every country has economical challenges because now they shut down their economy. They have to come up with a different strategy. Many things changes. Education system change, policy change. Everything is changes. In that situations, like how a political organization, those who have a very good background on science, innovation and technology, and they have a very innovative people like you, but what the how you want to collaborate with the different nations, different countries, those who have more challenges than USA. Reality is that I know many countries, they do not have better healthcare system, they do not have better education right now. They have many unemployment and many things. But example, yes, on the other hand, you have your experience, you have your own even successful organizations. So how we can actually get more, I do not want to say that financial support, I want to say intellectual support from this Mr. Charlie and Miss Liz, how we can get more collaborations and partnership.
Well, just when we look at healthcare in general, it has become a global situation. So even in the United States today, insurance companies will pay for a sick patient to go abroad to get a therapy. So open heart surgery in the United States is over $150,000 for a procedure, but in India, it's only $9,000, and it actually has a higher success rate, meaning less people die. So by creating this global community, the U.S. can save money. So by innovating healthcare, we can actually work in various different countries, creating a burgeoning center of financial benefit whilst de-risking centers of innovation in the United States until policy change can happen. So we already see this. It's called medical tourism, and it works. And it works really well for the companies and countries that participate in it. But this can be expanded into a global benefit. So you don't have to go into a small country and do research on their people. You can go into a smaller country and bring medical tourism and create tourist centers of excellence. So this is on the level of university centers of excellence where different places on the globe would specialize in different therapies, from gene therapies to cell therapies to advanced small molecules. And by doing that, it brings every country into the fold of innovation, and every country financially and intellectually benefits from it. And I guarantee you that this is a global problem and something that together we could solve much more efficiently. I know that Charlie also has suggestions to critical U.S. spending that he might want to talk about in relation to this.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Everything Liz said is on point with what I believe in. Yeah, one of the things that I talk about with regard to the platform for the USTP, obviously because we're running for president, what would we do is a question. If we were in power, well, first thing we would do is surround ourselves with brilliant scientific minds, such as Liz and other people like Ray Kurzweil or Aubrey de Grey, people that are really transhumanists that understand not only the science that's necessary now, but that are visionaries that can see what's coming, because we really need to be able to involve not just our country, but all the scientists in the world. And when you have people that are respected globally, it's easier to do that. One of the things that, as Liz was mentioning, is we would try to allocate the funding that is currently being overspent, as I see it, on the military budget, and bring a lot of that, not all of it, because we still need to protect ourselves, but a lot of it can be used for scientific research, because right now we spend more than half of our entire budget on the military. And obviously, there's enough nuclear power there that would wipe out the world many times over. So it's kind of pointless. It really needs to to take that kind of those kind of financial resources and put them towards the science of innovation of medical research, so that we can stop aging, so that we can use it to cure cancer and heart disease and all the things that really afflict us every day. As Liz said, over 100,000 people die from age-related diseases every day on this planet. And if we had that kind of resource to develop the innovations, it could be spread around and save lots of lives. And to me and to the USTP, that's our main focus, is to keep people from dying.
And each disease of aging that you check off the list is $1 trillion savings to the US budget. So we can't afford the aging population. China can't afford their aging population, nor can a slew of other countries who have less children under the age of 5 than they have people over the age of 65. 2020 was the first year, this year was the first year that there are more people over the age of 65 on the planet than under the age of 5 years old. Those 5-year-olds go on to be the payers to the system. Too many people are old. We cannot afford the economic burden. And vastly, most of those children are not being born in the US and the countries who are actually tallying these numbers of high expense.
Yes, thank you. I directly want to go to a audience response. Her name is Humaira Tanzila. She said, "Hello everyone. Thank you for your time in these sessions. What will be the next challenges after this pandemic in medical science in underdeveloped or developing nations?" I want to say. So, what's the answer you want to give her? Yeah.
Well, if you're asking me, one of the most important things that we consider right now in the gene and cell technology arena is that this technology is not a technology that a country needs to massively build up to. You can actually leapfrog old technology and go straight for advanced therapeutics. So it's not, it's not the number of MRI machines or X-ray machines that you have. It's literally leapfrogging into new innovation. And so I think the most important thing is to get countries this infectious disease under control. We need to reopen our borders. We need to reallocate our funds to think smart. Vastly, the aging population is dying of COVID-19, and that goes to show you that just another risk of biological aging and life limitations. So we need to allocate the funds into getting this research done and bringing everyone up to a state of ultimate health through advanced technologies, leapfrogging the old technologies, and innovating those countries.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Mr. Charlie, yeah.
Yeah, what Liz said is actually correct. I mean, that is what we would be doing. If you're saying what would be the next thing we would be tackling after this pandemic, assuming that another pandemic doesn't happen, because that's very possible. We can have another one happen, and that's why it's so important to be proactive about these things. We need to have the research ahead of time. We can't wait till things happen and then react. We have to be proactive. I do think that, as technology is growing exponentially in all fields, we'll see faster and faster results, though, and that's the good part. So I would like to see the funding, as Liz said, that kind of resource put towards things like AI. I think it's important that we have artificial intelligence and machine learning to advance the ability to diagnose, for example, because they've done tests where robotic diagnosticians can outperform regular human diagnosticians on 10 or 100 times faster. So we need to be able to implement that kind of stuff as soon as possible, so it'll save more lives. And as Liz said, that would bring down the costs of the economy for all countries, and we'll just be able to use that for other things and do better things for everything else that's within our economy, like education and well, there's a lot of things. So there you go.
Yeah, we can learn from what we did right. So, the genome of the COVID-19, the SARS-CoV-2, was actually sequenced rather quickly. That was ingenious. I mean, look at the things we did right. Some of the things that the Western world did wrong was not keep our sights on what the Eastern world was doing, like masking up. And, it is possible that we could have actually vastly run as usual if we would have taken the right precautions. Another thing that I would like to see is the hospitals, the US hospitals and hospitals all around the world held accountable for not having enough PPE for their own workers. That's something that shouldn't happen again. So there's a lot of things right that were done that we can actually learn from, and there were a few things wrong that ended up being devastating for economies.
Yes. I want to move with the human resource development because this is one of the interesting things. And I believe that according to my experience, I know millions of the peoples that still they need to improve their skills, improve their knowledge in science and technology and other things. And still I believe that we have lack of human resources to train these peoples. Even today, the World Talent Economy Forums, we have a conference with 300 different schools from Bangladesh and India and Malaysia and these countries. So still we find that we have extremely shortage of good human resources, and especially we have shortage of intellectual people like you. But my question is that beside politics, how we can contribute to developing this kind of human resources, because I know it's a millions of millions human resources. We need to actually, they are human, we need to convert them human resources. And especially transhumanist party, they are more on advanced science technology and these things. What's your advice, what's your guidelines, how you want to engage with these things as a politician or as a innovative person?
Well, I think it would be, well, as a politician or as an innovative person, but it would be really, we're all about using the latest technologies. And one of the things that COVID has caused was the people using the internet a lot more for communication, for meetings, for almost everything. And that's that's a little bit of a silver lining with this dreaded disease that occurred. But it ties right into what was already starting. Where a lot of the universities, because of the advancement of technologies and communication technologies in particular, they were offering free courses, or at least really reduced courses. And I think that's a big way to educate the country or the world, is by offering courses in every subject matter, particularly scientific matters, things that are going to be very relevant to the near future and the far going future. And that would probably help with what you're questioning, where you can have some of the smartest people in the world teaching courses to thousands of people at one time. And as this type of intercommunication becomes more polished, I'm sure it'll be the norm. I mean, it won't be where we have to go to campus, and in our country, you have to pay, literally hundreds of thousands of dollars to have an education. And there's only a handful of people that can go to a classroom at a time. Just like everything else, things are going to be automated, and with that automation, you're going to see the spread of the information to more and more people, and thus people becoming more and more intelligent. So that I think that's what I'd like to see happen, and that's where I think if the Transhumanist Party were to be in power, we would allocate money to make sure that kind of stuff happened more frequently and as much as possible.
I mean, that's why I get behind Charlie. It's absolutely point on. It's called equity. We have a lot of people all around the world, from Bangladesh to state places right here in the United States, where people are not getting access to education. Here it might be due to the cost. There it might be due to other resource constraints. We need to get education to everyone in the world, because the future is not just you and me and a couple of really smart guys and Einstein of the past. Literally, we are overlooking a myriad of geniuses. And what creates a genius is not necessarily a specific education or a specific things. It's not always physics. It's being able to take the tools that you have today and make a future for them for tomorrow. And we are every child who is not educated, we are overlooking the potential to save our own lives.
Mm-hmm.
the education of the world and not overlooking one child is an immense importance. Free education, but it's also a culture. So some people have a harder time with it because it's almost a culture that they can't form themselves into. Well, we need to make sure that nobody gets left behind and that everybody has access to the conversation and to the education in a way that works for them. And there's a lot of players out there, just like innovation in AI and in biology. There are a lot of innovators in the areas of academics and teaching even young students that is not getting funded and is getting vastly overlooked. And those are important innovations too.
Mhm. Yes, this is really, really interesting, and this is actually providing a lot of positive response and information for our audience and for our people. Besides that, I want to know, like example, still, one of the information actually, Miss Liz, you are trying to share that we have a lot of innovation in research, but not more innovation in products, so product lines and other things. But I know the countries that still they are struggling to developing their research based, and I think this world need to do more on research and even industrial innovations. You are right, but what's the collaborative process? I know many industrialists still they are not thinking advanced way, and I think it's a long process of engagement of how actually first worlds moving the innovations. Even example, I know you are talking about Bangladesh. Let's say Bangladeshi many industry, I know personally that still they are not advanced in science and technology, and I think they have to integrate more. But what the basic way? What's the strategy? How we can improve more things? How we can minimize the gap in between developed nations and the developing nations?
Well, it's just like anything else. You need to incentivize it. And that incentive can come through thesis, it can come through PhD work, it can come through advanced university work, or it can come through business. And so right now we're a vastly capitalist run country. And if there is some sort of benefit to be gained, you can get entrepreneurs out into countries and investing their money to make more money. So how do you do that? We need to incentivize it. We need to incentivize people's learning, people's education, the opening of universities globally that have an equitable structure so that everyone can get an education. And I think that Charlie just hit the nail on the head. That's our saying for it was very exact when he said that this internet society, this new quarantined thinking, this at-home learning might actually suit people well. Now, not everybody has the internet in their home, and that is one thing that we need to ensure happens. How could we do that? Incentivizing, incentivizing, incentivizing.
Mhm. Yes, Mr. Charlie.
Yeah, Liz is correct, and she covered the private sector. So I'll go into the politics of it. That the way you advance it in that realm is we need better leaders that are more globalistic in their thinking. You can't have this nationalistic nonsense that I see what's happening right now, where I hate to talk about well, I have to because I'm running against him. But Trump is he's very separatist, and he's basically pulling out of the Paris Climate Accord. He's going against a lot of different things and he's making enemies, and he's not making it an easy way for us to communicate globally with our allies. And that is something that really needs to be changed so that we can have better communications with all the countries that do have amazing promise, but they might need our help. And there's no reason that it can't be worked out in a way that benefits both countries. When he puts a ban on immigration, there's a lot of intelligent people that are not allowed to come in our country, and that hurts us. And it also doesn't give them the benefit of the opportunities that our country can offer. So that kind of small-minded thinking needs to be eliminated. That ties into education, because we need a smarter electorate to vote for smarter leaders. So that's another aspect of what needs to be accomplished for us to really get to the goals that you're talking about, where everybody can benefit in the world.
Mhm.
And, some of the recent policies of limiting visas of perfectly educated people who actually add to our community knowledge base and innovation in the United States has been, quite shocking. That is not very global, and that does need to happen. And I think that, Charlie and I both agree that the two-party system has just become combative. They on both sides. I'm really not impressed, and I honestly would not have got involved if I wasn't so almost sickened to see our people being pulled apart and neighbors. Hating neighbors. We've had enough hate in the world. The transhumanist mission is not about hate. It's about peaceful living. It's about peaceful society, a peaceful planet that then transcend into other places of the solar system and benefit one another and hopefully run into other life forms. I know that sounds crazy to some people, but there's a whole universe out there. We may not be alone. It's even scarier if we are alone. I believe that's a famous quote that I'm prefacing. And it's really time to bring people together and to work as one. We are one species. I don't believe in race. We are one species, and working together, we can achieve a lot more.
Mhm. Yes, thank you. I directly right now get into the U.S. politics because let's say at present situation, U.S. what we know that Mr. Biden and Donald Trump they are in the competition. Beside that, Transhumanist Party, I think that it's a third party you are trying to contributing in the politics. So, but according to our developing nations understanding, we always believe that like yes, like we always think that this kind of two parties, they will dominate the politics, they will dominate the international relationships, and US elections has actually many dynamics. Even from my childhood, I engage with debating community. Even I learned debate from television debate from US elections and other things. uh, this is fact. Even I'm from the very small part of Bangladesh, and that time even I was the national champions. Even I do debate in the Harvard Union and the Oxford Unions, and I learn it from the US presidential candidate from my childhood. But how actually at present situation, like you are also competing in the US elections, how you want to differentiate yourself, what's the logic you have, how you want to interact with the global community. So this is the things, yeah.
Well, I mean, as I think we've mentioned a couple of times, our platform really is about using the latest technologies to better our communities, our country, and actually the world. There's so much technology that's out there, and we are in a capitalist world, and we have a country that has more financial resources than any other country, and yet it's all about how it's allocated. And when it's put to things that are destructive or not beneficial, when the priorities are set in the wrong way, it doesn't really help. And we end up with these silly statistics or really detrimental ones, as Liz pointed out earlier. We spend so much money per capita per person in healthcare, and yet we have a terrible outcome in with regard to our life longevity expectancies. So, our goal for the USTP is really to push those policies out there, let people know that we could have a much better life. And there is a lot of raucous rancor between the two parties right now, and it's unfortunately spilled into the private world, where you see people fighting on the streets now and they're arguing over things. And that's part of a strategy that's being used by our current administration, and we don't like that at all. I mean, the USTP is about technology and science and using that as a way to better ourselves, but we also look at it in a as Liz pointed out. She was talking about planetary explorations. And I think that I know she said that might sound crazy, but I think a lot of people don't think that anymore. I think we see people like Elon Musk and trying to get to Mars, and we realize that we are creatures that like to explore and discover. And one of the things that the USTP is about is not only science, but education and at higher levels as technology proceeds, such as what Musk is doing, for example. He's got this company Neuralink that he just did a press release just a few days ago, how they're going to use these different filaments that are essentially going to be attached to our brains and make us much, much smarter. Well, one of the things that we like to believe in the USTP is that as a species, as we get smarter, whether it's just by education or by an enhancement through some kind of technology, that as we become smarter, we'll also start to achieve better levels of empathy and compassion for our fellow human. We don't want to live on a planet where everybody's fighting and hating. We really want to see we want to see the USTP and its values succeed, so that not only can everybody live longer and healthier, but happier. Happiness is written in our Declaration of Independence, where it's life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We don't want to forget about that one. It's pretty important. So that's kind of our differentiation is that we want to use the technologies as best possible, as much as possible. Use the money that we have in our budget to push that stuff to benefit everybody in ways that aren't always talked about.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Ms. Liz, yeah.
Oh, I would just reflect what Charlie just said. I think that it is massively important to not only innovate technology, but innovate what we might consider empathy. For instance, I'm always surprised that that's not part of our classroom situation. I feel like we're teaching kids old technology in school. They're spending 6-7 hours in classes in primary school, and we need to change some of the things that they're learning about. We want them to learn about science and technology. We also want them to learn about psychology and getting along with other people. When we often in the US, for instance, we teach about bullying, but what we teach is there's a bully and then there's a person who is bullied and maybe some things to say to each other. But actually, if we understood more about each other, if we understood more about different cultures and different personality types, and how to interface and have compassion for one another instead of tolerance. Tolerance just kind of means I don't really like you, but I'll put up with you. That's not the world that we want for the future. We want a world that embraces each other so that we can go on a much bigger journey together.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you. I want to add another things, and definitely it's a different things, because now everyone's, even in politics, even in corporate world, in the business world, we are also just thinking about business and even, yes, true science and technology and everything we are thinking, but we are not teaching them proper ethics, human values, love, compassions. We never try to engage with these things. How, like Transhumanist Party, or like example, the presidential candidate, vice presidential candidate like you, how do you want to add these things with your process, like human values and human loves and empathy? Yeah.
Yeah, how do we incentivize it, or how do we make people want to move towards it when right now today's youth in America are idolizing artists that have a lot to say, yes, but some of them are in prison for murder. Some of them have been murdered. This kill society, how do we make something motivating and cool and something to look forward to that isn't so steeped in hate? Again, I love art. I love music. I listen to it regularly, but I would like to move us towards the new cool, which is something to really look forward to. Another day to live. The suicide rates right now are astronomical in the United States. Kids don't feel like they have anything to look forward to. Their idols are in prison for murder. What is happening? We are a robust country. We have assets. We've got video games. We've got TV. We've got, television, cars, and movie stars. And yet our youth are not prepared, nor are they excited about the future. We need radical change here. We need to get them engaged. to desire, to educate, to move forward, and to be leaders in their own time. And there is something happening devastating here where we are slipping and losing an opportunity. The U.S. Transhumanist Party wants to capture that opportunity with kids, help them see a future that busts through this fog and helps them see that the future is amazing, that it's beyond imagination. Just everything from AR to VR to gene therapy technologies, helping bodies become more unlimited, more muscle mass, stronger, faster, smarter. And of course, I'll pass it off to the visions of Charlie. We need to capture our burgeoning youth and veer them towards a happier future.
Yes,
Yeah,
Mr. Charlie.
definitely. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with my background, but obviously I've done a lot of music videos and songs. I've been involved in film productions. I've worked with Ray Kurzweil on the Singularities Near docudrama, where we showed an avatar that claims sentience and wants its own rights. But we try to always portray the future and all these new technologies that are out there in a positive way, in a way that shows not a dystopic future like a lot of movies are in Hollywood. Unfortunately, we try to use it to show that things can be much better in the future. All the music videos I've shown always show a more of a utopia, but one of it always, I always try to put in there important social devices, things that I try to show. In fact, one that I did, which was I used Hindi words in it. It was called Bhavishya, which means future, obviously in Hindi.
Future, yeah.
And in it, I showed women back in the like 1,000 years ago they were subjugated. And then I showed in the future, in the year 2045, where now they were all the scientists, but I did it in a way that was a good kind of lighthearted but important message, and I think that incorporating that kind of stuff will help draw younger people, by using things that they are happy, or that they tend to be more attuned to, like music and movies and popular culture. So the USTP wants to make things better for everybody, and we're going to try whatever avenues we can do it, and I'll try my best to be a part of that.
Yes, thank you. This is very, very interesting. I think people like this kind of president and vice president, right? They have to be creative.
Yeah, we do.
They have to be smart. Yeah. This is very interesting because always we are actually feeling very bad how actually, like, politicians, they are actually blaming each others. Politicians actually trying to do many negative things. But we like this kind of politicians, those who want to do music video, those who want to be creative. They are designing something and developing something which is really good for our human being. Beside that, it's very interesting. Definitely futures. We're gonna arrange very interesting summit, and your discussions will be very valuable for World Talent Economy Forum. So I want to move to the other things. So, like, you are talking about better policy, you are talking about always that we need better policy. Still, it's not a practice in different country. I think it's a that area that we need to move with this better policy. What does it mean? What does the better policy, how it works, how the different culture you want to interact with your better policy solutions, and how we can understand that this policy will be helpful for our community. What's your guideline and what's your advice?
Well, in the USTP, one of our policies is we talk about universal basic income. And the reason that we do that is because we see that we are able to see that automation is coming. And pretty soon there'll be some jobs, there'll still be jobs, but because automation is going to, and robotics and 3D printing, all these types of things are going to start to develop what's called the economy of abundance. And we're going to have so many things and so much stuff that people want, but it'll be so plentiful that it'll be necessary to compensate for those people that don't have an income anymore or don't have enough of an income. So there will be some form of UBI, but it has to be smart. We can't just, deplete our entire economy. So what we can do is supplement it with different things like 3D printers, where everybody can have a 3D printer or a molecular manufacturing device so that they can print or manufacture all the things they need. And when these kind of policies take hold in our country or other countries, because they are being tried out, like I think in Finland and a couple of other places, you'll see it start to spread around the world, because the whole world, we are global. I mean, the economy of abundance won't just be here. It'll start to spread everywhere. And then, you'll see a whole different kind of interpretation about what it means to have an economic policy. It won't be so much about capitalism. Capitalism works because there's always a limited supply and there's always huge demand. But if supply is limitless, then demand kind of goes away and capitalism has to be restructured. So this isn't about whether we want to be socialist or we want to be capitalist. It's just about realizing the actual future that's coming and dealing with it. You can't pretend that these aren't going to happen. So it's not like, because people think that if you talk about UBI, that's some kind of socialist policy. It's not. It's really a futurist policy. It's just about how things are going to play out, and you can't run away from it. You got to deal with it, and you got to be smart about it. And that's why we like to put intelligent people at the forefront of our community of the USTP.
Mhm. Yes, I have a question for Madam Liz. That women empowerment is a very important thing right now. Even in Asia, we know that many women leaders, they are also doing very well. Even in Malaysia, I can remember last government, that one Aziza, she was a deputy prime minister in Malaysia. She is doing very good job. Even recent years, even I'm from Bangladesh. Bangladeshi Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, she is a woman. But how you want to focus on women empowerment, and how women should more engage with politics, and what do your things on women empowerment? Yes, even my PhD actually in women empowerment and glass ceiling factors and these things. Yeah.
Well, I think that, it's important. I don't think that every woman wants to get involved in politics. I certainly didn't myself, but
Okay.
I think that it goes to show how the U.S. is lagging behind. We're on par to be probably one of the last countries without a woman actually leading the country, and that's really quite pitiful. I think that women are showing amazing aptitude around the globe, from the response to COVID to the response to shootings, from New Zealand to Australia to all over Asia. Women do an amazing job. And I think that in the empowerment of women in any position, number one, fair and equal pay is essential. Right to an education is essential. And thank you, Charlie, for bringing up Finland. Finland is a wonderful country that did a lot to ensure that university was free for everyone. And they have the first generations of doctors and lawyers from whose parents were doing more janitorial work and living by basic means. This is uplifting their country, and it is a good way to show that we can uplift the world. But I want women in every place. I think we lead by compassion. We are highly intelligent. We have been vastly underestimated, and I think that it has been a big mistake. And we are seeing that play out all over the world. So I would definitely and do support women in all areas and walks of life. Anything that they want to do, they can do amazingly well. And I don't think that there should be any limitation to anything that they can engage in.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Charlie. As a U.S. Transhumanist Party presidential candidate, what's the concluding remarks you want to give for this World Talent Economy Forum session?
Oh, well, I want to thank you, Sharif, for inviting us for number one. I just want to say that, I do appreciate you having us on here, because our goal really is to spread the word of transhumanism as much as possible. And what you do is amazing with the World Economic Forum. I think that these kinds of meetings, these kinds of shows, podcasts, whatever you call them, they're very helpful. They are growing more and more. We are getting invited around the world more in different places. And we're happy to go and talk about this as much as possible because, our goal, like I said before, for the USTP, it's about putting innovation at the forefront to save lives and eventually make people better, smarter, happier, all those good things that really we want. So that's about what I can say for now. And I appreciate it again for having us on here.
Yes. Madam Liz, what's your concluding remarks as a women leaders and new leaders for this world? Yeah.
Well, I want to thank everyone for listening, and I want you to consider your future. I want you to think deeply about how you picture the world being in the next 10 years. And I hope that you see that you have an innovative part to play in it, an unlimited part to play in it, that healthcare is ubiquitous, that innovation is burgeoning, and that we all have something to look forward to as a united globe together.
Yes, thank you. This is actually a very good concept. Yes, United Globes, and hopefully with this World Talent Economy Forums and with your initiatives and with your activities, we can change these worlds. And we are working together, Asia Research and Development
By the
Institutions.
way, Sharif, can I tell you one more thing?
Yes,
Um,
definitely.
the USTP it's the United States Transhumanist Party, but anybody in the world can become a member for free. So all they
Yes,
got to
yes.
do is go to our website. You can sign up and be a part of it, and they can offer ideas, everything. We look forward to everybody becoming members because,
Mhm.
like I said, we're a global community in the USTP, and we want to make the world better for everybody. So so all your viewers and everybody, they're welcome to go to the USTP website. If you look up just Google United States Transhumanist Party and you'll find a way to get to it. But we would more than welcome everybody to become members.
Yes. Yes, yes. Thank you. Basically, we are also trying to developing the better worlds, and with the help of U.S. Transhumanist Party, we can do this in better way, and we can share our knowledge, share our views, share different cultures, and definitely by this way we can grow together. Then definitely we can achieve everyone objectives. This is actually possible practically, and hopefully, if you allow us, we want to do more a series on the US elections and US transhumanist parties in the future. So based on, I know that you are very busy, but based on your availability and these things, we want to invite you more because we have many interesting things. I definitely can confirm that more young community, more youth community, and more talented people from remote area, from Himalaya to everywhere, they are joining with us. So more of your intellectual support is very important for us because we need to change the world, and different perception, different cultures is very important for us. Thank you for your valuable times and wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.